You've covered, worked the 2012 DNC convention. When you think about what's happening this week, what's the focus?
Well, the focus is security, and the focus is a level of security that we've never seen before in normal circumstances, even prior to the events of this past weekend. Whenever there is a Democratic National Convention or Republican National Convention, there are multiple layers of security. So in light of what happened, I imagine that there was not a need to revamp everything, but I assure you they made every list and checked it twice, the outer layers, the inner layers, and things of that nature. And so we're going to see some security in Milwaukee, probably like we hadn't seen in quite some time.
So while security is being ramped up in Milwaukee as we speak, let's go back to the investigation in Pennsylvania. What went wrong? All right, there's nothing wrong with Secret Service. They are the best at what they do. How could there have been a breakdown if all the buildings in that area within a couple hundred yards were what's the word they use? Were sterilized. They were pre-scouted right before this rally. How did the shooter get on the roof?
Well, that's a great question, and as I've been kind of scouring and reading things of that nature, it has been stated that that was an area of concern that was identified. When you think about an AR-15 as an example, which I believe is one of the suspected weapon, it has a max effective range of about 600 yards or so easily, and so to have a building well within the max effective range of a very common weapon from a high position, and not to have that space covered is certainly a concern, and it was a major miss, and that's the scope of the investigation. We don't know how it was missed, but needless to say it was missed, because when I recall from the Democratic National Convention as an example, when you have that inner level, there's the level of access is an area that even certain law enforcement officials can't get to. If you don't have a need to be in that inner level because you can cause so much harm, you're not even allowed in that area. So to have someone to be able to get that close is certainly something that they're going to really have to explain to the public.
Well, and we know that the president has called for an investigation into what fell through the cracks. It seems as though there were maybe 5 to 6 shots fired. That seems like 5 or 6 too many.
Right, and it was interesting because it was kind of hard to tell which shots were coming from the assassin or his attempt, I should say, from his weapon in comparison to the rounds that were coming from the counterfire from Secret Service, because we do know that pretty quickly there was some return fire, but the shooter was able to get off several rounds there in a short period of time.
On the human side of this, as a former officer and as an attorney, you're also a dad of triplet boys who happen to be here this morning. The cutest thing in the world, right? How do you look at those faces and explain not only what happened, but to try to convince them? How do we convince the younger generation and our own kids that it's okay to disagree with someone, that you can't turn to violence, and this is not how we solve things? Like, that's become standard today.
Right. I would certainly not call myself an expert on anything, and certainly not parenting. But one of the things I've quickly discovered is that they watch and observe everything that we do. I think experts may refer to that as modeling. And in a nutshell, it starts with us. If we model and show them this is not how you respond to disagreements, it will trickle down. But the problem is that's not what we're modeling for our kids. Where they see us when we say certain things politically, they hear us, right? When we post on social media, they see it, and it has an impact on their impressionable brains. And so as an adult, you know, you're just venting, but for a child, they see that as rage, and then as they grow up, they take that rage with them. So we have to be really careful about what we share and how we express our emotions in front of our little ones.